Listen closely. Beneath this sun-baked wasteland lies the echo chamber of the Cretaceous. A river once flowed here, and not with life, but with death. For over 1 million years, it executed a silent, systematic genocide against the giants who ruled this planet. Its weapon wasn't fang or claw, but water and earth. Its victims? Tyrants and titans alike. This is no mere fossil bed. This is the killing floor of the river of death. Today, we descend into one of paleontology's most profound mysteries. Was this a mass extinction event frozen in time, or the chilling signature of Earth's most efficient, most relentless natural slaughterhouse? And what if this ancient executioner still waits, dormant, for its next victim? The lost world, a paradise poised on the brink. Picture it. 75 million years before present. Late Cretaceous period. Forget the frozen tundra of modern Canada. Alberta is a steaming, subtropical crucible. Towering sequoia-like conifers pierce a humid, haze-choked sky. The air thrums with the drone of dragonflies the size of hawks and the guttural bellows of creatures beyond human scale. This is Laramidia, a narrow island continent squeezed between an inland sea and rising mountains. And here, in what we now call Dinosaur Provincial Park, life explodes in terrifying, magnificent abundance. This wasn't just an ecosystem, it was a dynasty of giants, a biological arms race sculpted by millions of years of evolution. The gentle behemoths, herbivores. Parasaurolophus, imagine herds numbering in the hundreds, their iconic, backward-curving crests acting as natural trombones, filling the swamps with eerie, resonant calls used for communication and warning across miles of dense floodplain forest. Picture a crest over 6 feet long on a 30-foot animal. Edmontosaurus, the dinosaurian cow. Colossal, reaching lengths of 40 to 50 feet and weights of 6 to 8 tons. Equipped with a battery of hundreds of tightly packed teeth forming a near-continuous grinding surface, a biological woodchipper capable of denuding entire groves of tough cycads and conifers. Thousands of bones attest to their dominance. Ceratopsian armada, Styracosaurus, Centrosaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus, nature's battle tanks. Styracosaurus bristled with a frill crowned by 6 long spikes and a massive nasal horn. Centrosaurus, slightly smaller, sported a single large horn over its nose and intricate hooks on its frill. Pachyrhinosaurus, thick-nosed lizard, was truly bizarre, lacking prominent horns. It bore a massive, bony boss on its snout, possibly used like a battering ram in headbutting contests. Fossil bone beds containing thousands of Centrosaurus individuals suggest vast, migratory herds. Ankylosaurs, Euoplocephalus, low-slung, armored fortresses. Covered in thick osteoderms, bony plates, and wielding a devastating club-like tail capable of shattering the legs of any predator foolish enough to attack. Smaller foragers, the Celosaurus, Paxosaurus, agile, bipedal herbivores darting through the undergrowth, the deer of this prehistoric world. The apex predators and scavengers, carnivores, Gorgosaurus libratus, the undisputed terror of late Cretaceous Alberta. A slightly lighter, more agile cousin of T-Rex, reaching 26 to 30 feet and weighing 2 to 3 tons. Razor-sharp teeth serrated like steak knives, binocular vision for depth perception, and legs built for explosive bursts of speed. The nightmare incarnate for any herbivore. Daspletosaurus taurosus, a heavier, more robust tyrannosaurid, potentially an older lineage or filling a slightly different niche than Gorgosaurus. Built like a tank with bone-crushing bite force. Dromaeosaurs, raptors, Sauronitholestes, Dromaeosaurus, pack hunters the size of wolves, equipped with the infamous retractable sickle claw on the second toe, likely used to pin down prey while disemboweling it with powerful jaws. Intelligence and pack coordination made them lethally efficient. Troodantids, Stenonychosaurus, Troodan. Among the most intelligent dinosaurs, with large brains relative to body size. Large, forward-facing eyes suggest nocturnal or crepuscular hunting. Likely omnivorous, feeding on small prey, eggs, insects, and plants. Possibly feathered. Giant crocodiliforms, Dinosuchus hatcheri. Lurking in the rivers and swamps, these 30 to 35-foot monsters were capable of taking down even large dinosaurs coming to drink. Imagine a saltwater crocodile scaled up to T-Rex size. Pterosaurs, Quetzalcoatlus northropi. While less common in the bone beds, giants like Quetzalcoatlus, wingspan up to 33 to 36 feet, would have patrolled the skies, scavenging carcasses or snatching smaller prey. This was a world of deafening sound, overpowering smell, and constant, brutal struggle for survival. A verdant Eden concealing a million daily dramas of life and death. Yet, amidst this teeming chaos, a far more insidious killer was silently perfecting its craft, the River of Death. The Boneyard revealed, from cowboy curiosity to paleontological epicenter. The story of the Death River's discovery begins not in a gleaming laboratory, but in the dusty, sun-scorched badlands of late 19th century Alberta. 1884, Joseph Tyrrell, a young geologist mapping coal deposits for the Geological Survey of Canada, stumbles upon something extraordinary protruding from a hillside near the Red Deer River, a massive, unmistakably reptilian skull. It belonged to Albertosaurus sarcophagus, the first major dinosaur find in the region, naming the province itself. Locals, including indigenous peoples, had known of the stone bones for generations, but science was finally taking notice. The true scale of the graveyard, however, began to unfold thanks to the era's most flamboyant and relentless dinosaur hunter, Barnum Brown. Working for the American Museum of Natural History, AMNH, in New York, Brown descended upon the Red Deer River Valley in the 1910s like a man possessed. Using a flat-bottomed river scow, the Mary Jane, as his mobile base camp, Brown and his team navigated the treacherous currents, scouring the exposed cliffs. What they found defied belief. It wasn't isolated skeletons. It was catacombs of bone. Layer upon layer, horizon upon horizon, packed with disarticulated, fragmented, jumbled fossils. Thousands upon thousands of them. Brown shipped back colossal quantities, filling the halls of the AMNH and revolutionizing our understanding of late Cretaceous fauna. The baton was passed, and the epicenter of discovery shifted. The Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology, established in Drumheller, Alberta, in 1985 and named after Joseph Tyrrell, became the undisputed global headquarters for Death River research. Led by generations of dedicated paleontologists and technicians, the Tyrrell team, along with numerous university expeditions, has methodically excavated the Dinosaur Provincial Park Badlands for decades. The numbers are staggering. Over 500,000 individual specimens catalogued, and counting. More than 50 distinct dinosaur species identified, and numerous other reptiles, fish, amphibians, mammals. Hundreds of articulated or partially articulated skeletons recovered. Dozens of massive bone beds, some containing the remains of thousands of individuals of a single species, like the famed Centrosaurus bone beds. This concentration represents arguably the richest and most diverse late Cretaceous terrestrial fossil assemblage on Earth. It's not just a graveyard, it's a paleontological supernova. The sheer volume begs the inescapable question, how? How did so many dinosaurs, from tiny troodontids to multi-ton tyrannosaurs, end up concentrated and preserved in this one, relatively small geographic area? The bone inflation, wrap your head around this, the Royal Tyrrell Museum has so many fossils in its collection, over 160,000 catalogued specimens just from Dinosaur Park formation, that even if they stopped digging today, it would take them over 100 years just to prepare, clean and study the backlog. That's not including new finds. It's the ultimate dinosaur stockpile. Imagine warehouse after warehouse, shelf after shelf, stacked with crates of 75 million a year-old bones waiting for their turn under the microscope. Pure paleo overload. The great debate, catastrophe versus the perfect trap. Faced with this mountain of bones, paleontologists were forced to confront the central mystery. Two grand, competing theories emerged, sparking decades of rigorous debate. Theory 1, the localized mass extinction event. The premise. Such an overwhelming concentration of death must be the result of a sudden, catastrophic regional event that wiped out entire populations simultaneously. A single, devastating blow. Proposed mechanisms. Monstrous floods. Seasonal monsoons on steroids, perhaps triggered by intense hurricane activity or rapid snowmelt from the rising Rockies to the west. Imagine walls of water scouring the landscape, drowning everything in their path, and dumping the tangled corpses in low-lying areas. Volcanic apocalypse. The late Cretaceous was a time of intense volcanism. A major eruption nearby could have blanketed the area in suffocating ash, poisoned water sources with toxic gases and heavy metals, or triggered short-term climate shifts, volcanic winter, causing mass starvation. Pandemic pathogen. A virulent, highly contagious disease sweeping through the dense dinosaur populations, felling them en masse. Think a Jurassic plague. Poisonous algal blooms, HABs. Toxic algae exploding in the waterways, poisoning dinosaurs as they drank. Drought and starvation. A prolonged, severe drought desiccating the landscape, leading to famine and mass die-offs around shrinking waterholes. Evidence cited by proponents. The presence of coarse-grained sandstone and conglomerate layers within the fossil-bearing sequence, interpreted as sudden flood deposits. The fragmented and disarticulated nature of many fossils, suggesting violent transport and rapid burial by floodwaters. The high density of fossils concentrated in specific geological horizons, implying a single death event layer. Critical problems and challenges. The diversity dilemma. Mass death events typically affect large populations in situ. Why do we find such an incredible mix of species, predators and prey, young and old, large and small, in the same beds? Floods might jumble things, but the diversity pattern is complex. The missing victims. If it was a truly catastrophic regional event, like a massive flood or volcanic eruption, where are the equally massive deposits of dead fish, turtles, crocodiles, mammals, and plants? Their remains are present, but not concentrated in the same overwhelming, multi-species bone bed fashion as the dinosaurs. Why were dinosaurs seemingly disproportionately affected? The time factor. Detailed geological mapping and radiometric dating reveal that the fossil-rich layers weren't deposited in a single afternoon. They represent deposition over hundreds of thousands, even millions of years. The deaths were spread out over immense time. The predator problem. Mass death events kill indiscriminately. Why do we find numerous, healthy-looking predator fossils, like Gorgosaurus, mixed in? In a sudden flood, predators should be victims too, but their relative abundance compared to prey seems unusual for a single catastrophe. Lack of universal smoking gun. While evidence for floods exists, it's not consistent across all bone beds. No single volcanic ash layer correlates perfectly with every major bone accumulation. No clear evidence of a specific, devastating disease has been found in the bones. Theory 2. The death trap, nature's perfect killing machine. The premise. The bone beds aren't the result of one-off catastrophes, but the accumulated signature of a persistent, naturally occurring environmental trap that operated with ruthless efficiency for over 1 million years. A slow-burn slaughterhouse, not a single explosion. This is the dominant theory embraced by most paleontologists working directly on the site, particularly those at the Royal Tyrrell Museum. The trap mechanism, the step-by-step execution. The perfect poison, bentonite clay. The key ingredient was geology. The region was periodically blanketed in thick layers of volcanic ash from eruptions in the nascent Rocky Mountains. This ash, rich in a mineral called montmorillonite, forming bentonite clay, has a unique property, thixotropy. Dry, it seems hard and compact. But add water? The deception. During dry seasons, the bentonite-rich mudflats along riverbanks and waterholes would bake hard under the Cretaceous sun. The surface would crack, perhaps even develop a thin, crusty layer. To a thirsty, multi-ton Centrosaurus herd migrating across the landscape, it looked like solid, safe ground to traverse on their way to water. The trap springs. The immense weight of the dinosaur, or herd, stepping onto this crust was its death sentence. The crust shattered like thin ice. The animal's legs plunged into the underlying mud, now transformed by even minimal moisture into an ultra-slick, viscous quicksand, with the consistency of cold molasses or wet concrete. Struggling only made it worse. Panic set in. The more the animal fought, the deeper it sank, the more entrapped it became. This wasn't water, it was liquid glue. The dinner bell rings. The terrified bellows and frantic struggles of a trapped giant were a siren call echoing across the floodplain. Scavengers and predators arrived in force. Gorgosaurus might attempt risky attacks on the helpless prey. Pterosaurs circled overhead. Smaller theropods darted in to nip at flesh. Crocodiles lurked at the water's edge. The scene was chaotic, brutal, and irresistible. The trap tightens. Predator becomes prey. In their greed and aggression, predators and scavengers often ventured too close to the unstable margins of the mud trap. A Gorgosaurus, lunging at a trapped Edmontosaurus, could easily lose its footing and become mired itself. A pack of raptors swarming a carcass might not notice the treacherous ground until it was too late. The trap didn't discriminate, it consumed victim and opportunist alike. The silencing shroud, rapid burial. The final act of the Death River's grim cycle was preservation. Seasonal floods, common in this dynamic river system, would eventually sweep down the valley. These floods carried vast amounts of sand, silt, and fresh volcanic ash. This sediment rapidly buried the carnage, the trapped carcasses, the half-eaten remains. The predators caught mid-meal. This rapid burial cut off oxygen, slowed decomposition, and created the perfect chemical conditions for fossilization, turning tragedy into a paleontological goldmine. The relentless cycle. This wasn't a one-time event. As rivers shifted their courses over millennia, a process called avulsion, new mudflats formed in new locations. The volcanic ash kept falling. The climate cycled between wet and dry. The trap reset itself, over and over and over again, for perhaps 1 million years or more. It was a self-perpetuating, systemic death factory. Why the trap theory wins, the core argument. It elegantly explains the pattern seen in the bone beds, the mixture of species, the presence of healthy predators, the evidence of scavenging, the spread of deaths over vast time, and the specific geological context of the fossils, often found in fine-grained mudstone, siltstone indicative of quiet water or floodplain settings, under coarser flood deposits. It transforms the bone beds from a static snapshot of disaster into a dynamic record of a persistent ecological phenomenon. The mud's revenge. That Cretaceous mud hasn't lost its bite. Paleontologists working in Dinosaur Park today have to wear special wide swamp shoes or even use boards to walk on potentially unstable ground after rain. In the 1990s, a fully loaded Jeep Cherokee sank up to its axles in wet bentonite clay near a quarry. It took a bulldozer and days of effort to free it. Imagine a 5-ton Centrosaurus trying to pull itself out with brute force alone. Utterly hopeless. Nature's trap was, and is, brutally effective. The smoking guns, paleontological detective work at the crime scene. The death trap theory isn't just a compelling story, it's backed by a mountain of forensic evidence meticulously pieced together from the bones and the rock itself. Victim profile, diversity is key. The bone beds aren't mass graves of a single herd wiped out by disease. They contain a bewildering array, juveniles and adults of numerous species, both herbivores and carnivores, large and small. This screams accumulation over time from individual trapping events, not a single catastrophe. Finding a Gorgosaurus skeleton entangled with a Centrosaurus is a classic trap signature. Death poses frozen in time. Many articulated skeletons are found in agonizing, contorted positions, necks wrenched backwards in a final gasp for air, legs splayed or pumping frantically, tails twisted. These are postures of entrapment and asphyxiation, not the relaxed poses of animals that died peacefully or were transported far by floods. They died exactly where they got stuck. The scavenger's autograph, bone damage. This is critical evidence. Bones from the Death River show rampant signs of postmortem and sometimes perimortem modification. Tooth marks. Countless bones bear the distinctive gouges, punctures, and scores left by the teeth of scavengers, primarily theropods like Gorgosaurus and smaller dromaeosaurs. These aren't kill bites, they're feeding traces. Trampling and breakage. Bones crushed and fractured by the weight of other struggling dinosaurs or scavengers crowding around the carcass. Weathering and disarticulation. Bones exposed longer show signs of sun bleaching, cracking, and being scattered by scavengers before final burial. This helps paleontologists estimate the time since death before burial. The cracked heel of tyranny. One famous Tyrannosaurus rex specimen, not from Alberta, but illustrative, named Sue, shows massive leg bone damage consistent with a severe infection, possibly originating from a wound. While not proof of trapping, it shows how bone pathology can tell stories. In Alberta, finding a Gorgosaurus femur with deep bite marks from another large theropod suggests conflict at the trap site. The Geological Crime Scene Report, Sedimentology and Stratigraphy. Fine-grained graves. Crucially, most dinosaur fossils are found embedded in fine-grained sediments, siltstones, mudstones, and bentonitic claystones. These rocks form in low-energy environments, quiet floodplains, ponds, or the bottom of river channels, not the raging torrents needed to carry massive carcasses. This directly contradicts the catastrophic flood transport model for the majority of remains. The cover-up. These fine-grained, bone-rich layers are often overlain by coarser sandstones or conglomerates, the actual flood deposits. This sequence is clear: entrapment, scavenging, and initial burial in mud, silt. The trap phase is dash. Later flood deposit sand gravel on top, the covering a sealing phase. Microstratigraphy, reading the fine print. Examining thin sections of rock under microscopes reveals intricate details. Bones are often surrounded by fine mud infiltrating the bone cavities, proving they were buried in the mud, not dumped on top later. The presence of delicate root traces or insect burrows within the bone layer but not penetrating the overlying flood layer shows time passed between burial phases. The volcanic fingerprint. Layers of bentonitic clay, the transformed volcanic ash, are interbedded throughout the fossil-bearing sequence. Geochemical analysis confirms the ash source. This provides the essential ingredient for the thixotropic mud trap. The missing plague. Extensive studies of bone pathologies in the Death River dinosaurs haven't revealed evidence of a single, devastating disease affecting large populations simultaneously. While injuries, infections, and arthritis are common, as in any wild population, there's no smoking gun of a mass extinction pathogen in the bones themselves. The long chronology. Radiometric dating, using isotopes in volcanic ash layers, and detailed biostratigraphy, dating based on fossil species evolution, prove the bone beds accumulated over a vast span of time, at least 1.5 to 2 million years during the Campanian stage of the late Cretaceous, roughly 77 to 75 million years ago. This timescale utterly refutes the idea of a single catastrophic event. The dinosaur calendar. Paleontologists can literally tell you the season a dinosaur died. How? By analyzing bone histology. Dinosaur bones, like trees, often laid down annual growth rings, lines of arrested growth, lags. By studying the microstructure under a microscope, specifically the type of bone tissue present at the very edge of the bone, they can determine if the animal died during a period of rapid growth, spring, summer, or slow growth cessation, late fall, winter. Studies on Death River dinosaurs show many perished during late dry season, early wet season transitions, precisely when the mud traps would be at their deadliest, surface crusted, mud below saturated and treacherous. Talk about forensic precision. Modern-day Sherlocks, decoding the past with cutting-edge tech. Unraveling the Death River secrets isn't just about picks and brushes anymore. The Royal Tyrrell Museum and collaborating scientists deploy an arsenal of sophisticated technology. 3D laser scanning and photogrammetry. Before a single bone is moved, entire quarries and skeleton blocks are meticulously scanned using terrestrial laser scanners, LiDAR, and hundreds of overlapping photographs. This creates millimeter-accurate digital 3D models of the excavation site in situ. This preserves the crucial spatial relationships between bones forever, allowing scientists to revisit the crime scene virtually, analyze bone orientations for clues on cause of death, and plan complex extractions. Computed tomography, CT, scanning. Like medical CT scans but for rocks. Entire jackets containing fragile fossils are scanned. This allows scientists to digitally excavate the bones inside the rock matrix without physically touching them. They can see hidden cracks, pathologies, tooth marks inside sediment blocks, and even reconstruct brain cavities and inner ear structures, revealing potential senses like balance and hearing. A game-changer for studying delicate specimens or bones still partially encased. Synchrotron radiation and micro-CT. Taking CT to the molecular level. Using powerful particle accelerators, like the Canadian light source, scientists can generate incredibly high-resolution X-ray images. This reveals growth lines invisible to normal microscopes, the microstructure of tooth enamel, the chemistry locked inside bones, and even preserved soft tissues or pigments at a cellular level. Imagine analyzing the isotopes within a single tooth growth ring. Stable isotope geochemistry, the diet and migration detective. Analyzing the ratios of different isotopes, oxygen 18 to oxygen 16, strontium 86 strontium 87, carbon 13 carbon 12. In fossil teeth and bones reveals astonishing details. Oxygen isotopes. Reveal local water source and climate, temperature, aridity. Did this dinosaur drink from high mountain streams or lowland swamps? Did it live through wet or dry periods? Strontium isotopes. Act like a geological GPS. The ratio reflects the bedrock geology where the animal lived when its bones' tooth enamel formed. This can reveal migration patterns. Were the Centrosaurus herds local residents, or did they migrate hundreds of miles? Evidence suggests many were locals. Carbon isotopes. Indicate diet. Did this hadrosaur eat mostly ferns or conifers? Was this Gorgosaurus scavenging carcasses or hunting live prey? The chemical signature is locked in the bone. Geochemical proxies and micropaleontology. Analyzing the chemistry of the surrounding rock and the microscopic fossils within it, pollen, spores, algae, palaeonomorphs, tiny crustaceans, astrocards, microscopic single-celled organisms with shells, foraminifera, provides hyper-detailed reconstructions of the ancient environment. Water depth, salinity, temperature, pH, vegetation type, and even seasonality. This builds the precise picture of the Death River's swampy killing grounds. Ultraviolet, UV, fluorescence. Certain minerals and fossilized organic components glow under UV light. This technique helps distinguish bone from similar-colored rock in the field or lab. Reveal fine cracks, repair lines, or pathologies not visible under normal light. Identify different sediment layers or trace fossils. The prehistoric pinworm and the coffee cup calamity. Paleontologists get very excited about fossilized poop, called coprolites. Why? Because they're dietary time capsules. Coprolites from the Death River have revealed undigested plant material, identifying specific Cretaceous plants eaten by hadrosaurs. Shattered bone fragments, confirming Tyrannosaur's crunch bone. Even parasite eggs. One famous coprolite, likely from a tyrannosaur, contained eggs of a prehistoric pinworm. Proof that even the king of killers had tummy troubles. And in a hilarious, and slightly horrifying, lab accident, a technician once accidentally dropped a coffee mug onto a hadrosaur leg bone. The silver lining? The fresh break revealed internal channels inside the bone likely caused by another type of parasite infection millions of years ago. Sometimes science needs a little, percussive encouragement. The enduring enigmas, questions that haunt the Badlands. Despite decades of research and the power of the trap model, the Death River still guards profound mysteries. The Alberta anomaly, why here? Why only here? Similar geological settings, volcanic ash, river systems, existed elsewhere in Laramidia and globally during the Cretaceous. Yet, nothing compares to the density and scale of the Alberta bone beds. Was there a unique confluence here? An especially rich source of volcanic ash? A peculiar climate pattern maximizing the mud trap's efficiency? A bottleneck in dinosaur migration routes? Or are equally vast death traps simply still buried, undiscovered elsewhere? The uniqueness remains baffling. The predator paradox. Bone bed statistics reveal a surprising fact: predators like Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus, are found in higher proportions relative to herbivores than typical predator-prey population ratios would predict. Was the trap especially effective at luring and ensnaring large carnivores drawn by easy meals? Did the abundant carrion support an unnaturally high predator population? Or does the preservation bias favor larger, more robust predator bones? This imbalance challenges our understanding of ecosystem dynamics. Simulating the sinkhole. Biomechanics meets paleontology. Exactly how did different dinosaurs behave in the trap? How fast did a 3-ton Centrosaurus sink? Could a powerful Gorgosaurus extract itself if only partially mired? How much force did the mud exert? Scientists are beginning to use sophisticated computer modeling and even robotic dinosaur proxies to simulate the physics of entrapment, but recreating the exact properties of 75-million-year-old thixotropic mud is incredibly complex. The calm before the extinction storm? The Death River operated roughly 10 million years before the infamous Chicxulub asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous and the dinosaurs' reign 66 million years ago. Did this relentless, million-year-long background extinction machine subtly weaken dinosaur populations or destabilize ecosystems across Laramidia? Did it make them less resilient to the ultimate cataclysm? Connecting the Death River's chronic toll to the end Cretaceous mass extinction is a tantalizing, unresolved question. Whispers of soft tissue. While rare hints of possible original organic material, collagen proteins, cellular structures, have been reported from exceptionally preserved Death River fossils using advanced chemical techniques. Can we ever recover enough to glimpse deeper into dinosaur biology from this site? The search continues. The next frontier, AI and big data. Can machine learning algorithms analyze the mountains of fossil data, images, CT scans, geochemistry, to spot patterns humans miss? Can AI predict where the next major bone bed lies buried? The integration of big data analytics promises a new wave of discovery. The river of death has long since vanished, its waters diverted by the relentless march of geological time. But its legacy is carved into the very bedrock of Alberta. These bones are more than relics of extinct giants. They are the indelible signature of Earth itself, executing a sentence of extinction with the chilling efficiency of water and mud. They force us to confront a humbling truth, that even the most dominant species can be undone not by cosmic catastrophe or warring rivals, but by the quiet, patient cunning of the planet we call home. The Death River wasn't an anomaly, it was a manifestation of nature's unforgiving equilibrium. It reminds us that life, in all its thunderous glory, walks perpetually on the precipice. And perhaps, the river hasn't truly dried up. Perhaps it merely sleeps, waiting for the next chapter in Earth's endless story of creation and oblivion.